everyone, and welcome back to Mason Sports Insider. I am Dan Ward. Tyler Byram is not here with us today, so I will be running the show. I have some spring sports teams updates for you, an update on the bracket challenge for the NCAA tournament, and it is spring training. Baseball is back in the MLB. I am supporting the Philadelphia Phillies tie. They are my team. Sorry, all you Nationals fans out there, but don't worry. They're going to be in the bottom of the division anyway, so you'll be able to talk all you want about how poorly the Phillies do this year. Young squad, they'll be back competing for the NL East sooner than you think, so watch out. But anyway, let's get to the Mason Sports. We'll start off with the men's volleyball team, who had 2 games this past week against Sacred Heart, both on the road. Game 1 was on Friday, where the Patriots dropped the first set, but then came back and took the next 3 sets en route to a 3-1 victory. Pago Velez led the team with a match-high 22 kills, while Johnny Gomez had a team-high 17 digs. Brian Eckstein had a career day, picking up 3 aces, and Brian Negron continued his dominance as he always does as the setter for the team with 44 assists in the match. Sacred Heart simply could not keep the ball in play as they had 37 total errors and an average hitting percentage of only 11%. Game 2 was more of the same for the Patriots, but this time Christian Elias stepped up as well. He and Pago Velez led the team with 13 and 12 kills respectively, and the Patriots went on to a 3-0 victory and completed the sweep of Sacred Heart. The only player on Sacred Heart that really competed was Austin Arcala. He registered 10 kills in each of the 2 games, but that was it for his team. Hitting was really a problem as Sacred Heart again struggled to keep the ball in play. They had negative hitting percentages in both of their games. Mason now, thanks to the 2 wins, is 6-4 in the conference and over 500 for the first time all season, now with a 12-11 record. Taking a look at the EIVA standings, we can see now that Mason continues to sit in 5th place, 1 spot out of the 4th and final playoff spot, but they are right there, tied with St. Francis conference record-wise and looking to compete. There are 4 games remaining. We see Penn State still sitting up there at the top of the division. They're going to stay there, and Harvard, New Jersey Institute of Technology, St. Francis, and George Mason, all right there. 4 teams competing for only 4 spots, and one of the spots is taken by Penn State. So it's going to come down to the wire. Mason, 4 games remaining in the season. All 4 are home games. So they certainly can make it to the playoffs. It's really up to them. If they win 3 out of 4, they should be in. 2-2. It leaves some room for error. We're going to have to see how the other teams do with a 2-2 mark, but if they're able to win out or at least go 3-1, Patriots should be in the playoffs. They will begin that run for the playoffs this week. They will play the New Jersey Institute of Technology on Thursday, and then Princeton on Saturday. Again, both games here at home, so go to the rack, check them out, and support the team as they try to make the playoffs. So now let's move on to the baseball team that had little to cheer about this past week, as they went 1-3. That included being swept out of St. Louis by the Billikens. Their lone win was an out-of-conference game against Georgetown, in which they squeaked by with a 2-1 win behind 5 innings of shutout baseball from starter Tyler Cardis. However, the Patriots then traveled to St. Louis for the first conference road series, and the pitching woes appeared again as they let up 33 runs in 3 games. The lone pitching bright spot for the Patriots over the weekend was Brian Marconi, who, in his 2nd straight Sunday start, allowed only 2 runs in 6 innings of work. Unfortunately, the Patriots could not get him the win as the conference-leading Billikens improved to 6-0 on the season in conference play. So with that, let's take a look at our Giant Killer standings to see what those 3 losses really did to the Patriots. We take a look. They are now sitting in 11th in the conference with only 1 conference win, 1-5 on the season. Only Dayton and St. Bonaventure are below them, and only Dayton and Massachusetts have worse overall records than the Patriots, struggling to begin the season. We see St. Louis, as we said, 6-0, sitting at the top of the conference. VCU right behind them, 18-9 overall, only the 1 conference loss. And then Davidson right behind them, 4-2 in the conference. So not a great start for the Patriots, to say the least, especially in conference play. Big loss going against St. Louis. You would have liked them to take at least 1 out of 3. Yes, St. Louis is one of the best teams in the conference. They have, I believe, about 6 of the top 10 prospects that are coming out of the A-10. So they are a phenomenal team, but to give up 33 runs in 3 games, that's not going to give you a lot of chances to win games. So Hopefully they'll be able to turn around. They'll get another chance to get back into the winning ways with some winnable games this week. They'll first take on Towson on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And then they have a weekend series against the Dayton Flyers, as we said, right below them in the standings, tied conference record-wise. So definitely winnable games this week, and all the games are at home. So come out to Spuler Field, support your baseball team. Let's get them back on their winning track. Now we'll talk about the other team on the diamond, the softball team, which hit a bit of a bump in the road to what has otherwise been a successful start to the season. They dropped 2 games to conference rival Massachusetts over the weekend, in which they only scored 1 run in the 2 games. This may have been because they were still celebrating because of what happened on Wednesday of last week. They played a doubleheader against the Towson Tigers where they dropped game 1, but then really they came out in game 2 in a historic way. They ripped off 7 runs, which would be 6 more than the pitching staff needed in game 2 of the doubleheader, because senior Sarah Kleinfelter and freshman Marina Vidalich combined to throw a perfect game. Kleinfelter threw 3 perfect innings before giving the ball to Vidalich, who would then finish off the game, picking up 8 of her 12 outs via the strikeout. Unfortunately, the Patriots did only go 1-3 this past week, with one game being postponed due to weather. So as we take a look at the Giant Killer standings, the Patriots have fallen a bit, currently sitting in 6th place. But then again, there is a lot of softball left to be played. We see Massachusetts is just above them, 1 game ahead of them, 3-2 record. But Patriots, one of the few teams that do have a winning record. Fordham, George Washington being the other 2, and Dayton 500 record, sitting at 13-13-1. So one of the few teams that does have a winning record overall. Just conference record, not as great as they'd like it to be. But again, a perfect game. You can't talk about that every week. Sarah Kleinfelter, Marina Vidalich, fantastic job. 7 innings, 21 up, 21 down. That's phenomenal in any sport, in any level of softball, any level of baseball. If anybody can throw a perfect game, that is phenomenal. So perhaps they were still celebrating against Massachusetts, but so those 2 losses kind of hurt. But hey, perfect game. That's going up in Mason history right there. So congratulations to the entire softball team, but especially to those 2 pitchers. They're back in action this week. A doubleheader against Maryland Eastern Shore on Wednesday, followed by a weekend series against, again, the Dayton Flyers. 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and all of the games are home games. So come out. West Campus, beautiful field does the softball team have. Definitely worth the watch. And hey, this team is definitely competing, and they'll be right in the thick of things come the playoff time and come the end of the season. So support them now, support them later. Softball team, here we go. Now we'll finish things off with the lacrosse team. First off, I'd like to wish congratulations to Jacqueline Spalding, who was named A10 Player of the Week last week after her career-high 6-goal performance against Liberty. Now to the other results. The lacrosse team had 2 conference games, both on the road against George Washington and Richmond. These games really were set up the trend for the Patriots the rest of the way. These 2 wins, if they can get them, would be huge for their playoff hopes. They fought hard against the Colonials in the Revolutionary Rivalry game and came away with the win by a score of 10-4 to open up conference play. While the offense flurried to get the team out to a big lead, it was the defense in this game that was the story of the Patriots, as the game could have been much closer had it not been for freshman goalkeeper Elizabeth Benedetto, who picked up a career-high 12 saves in the game. Alexa McGovern had a season-high 4 goals, and freshman Lydia Montanino also had a career day, picking up 3 assists. Moving on to Game 2 against Richmond on Sunday, the Patriots would have to fight hard for a full 60 minutes in this one, really the first time all season that they would have to do this. The game featured 2 lead changes, 4 ties, and the largest deficit by either team was only 2. The Patriots had such a lead with under 8 minutes to go before Mia Castagnero of the Spiders scored 2 of her 6 goals in only 30 seconds to tie the game up at 8-all. Neither team could do much with the ball until the 3:31 mark left in the second half, where freshman Chachi Callahan ripped a shot past the Richmond goalkeeper for what would stand as the game winner. Thanks to Callahan's goal and another impressive outing by Benedetto, who had 11 saves in goal, the Patriots improved to 2-0 in conference play, 7-2 on the season. And as we look at the standings presented by Giant Killer, we see the Patriots are all alone at the top of the standings in first place. Take a look at that. Massachusetts does have the better overall record. They've only played 1 conference game. They are 1-0 in that game. But because the Patriots have the 2 wins, top of the standings, and Don't really expect them to fall far from that top spot. They may drop to 2 or 3, but definitely playoff bound, especially with those 2 big wins, especially the game against Richmond. Richmond projected to finish in the top 4 for a playoff spot. Massachusetts is definitely going to be there as well. So the Patriots picking up those 2 big wins, certainly helping their chances. We see Richmond 1-1 on the season, holding on to that final playoff spot. Davidson and LaSalle also fighting, as well as St. Joe's. Duquesne, the only team yet to play a conference game, and VCU, who started off fairly well to begin their first inaugural season with a lacrosse team, now struggled a bit down to 2-8 and 0-2 in conference play. We'll see if they can't revamp things up and get their conference play rolling. There are 2 games this week. First game, UMass, Friday at 6. That is the game. In fact, it is the game of the week. Come on out to Mason Stadium. You can get some free Mason socks if you're a Mason student. And this is a fun team to watch. Coming from personal experience, I call the games for them, and they score so many goals that it really is an exciting game. So come on out, support the team. That is the biggest game of the season really for them, going against UMass. If they can get the win over UMass, they are the perennial powerhouse of lacrosse. They can pick up that victory, then the Patriots may be the team to beat this year in lacrosse. They also have a game against Davidson on Sunday at 12, another very important game, and that is home as well. So plenty of opportunities to come see the women's lacrosse team, cheer them on. Hopefully they'll be able to pick up a couple more wins and solidify their spot in the playoffs. That just about does it, I believe, for our updates on the Mason sports. Let's take a look at this week's upcoming schedule. We see that, again, lacrosse, a couple of games. Softball, they have their weekend series against Dayton, as does the baseball team. But then a couple of teams that we didn't mention. Monday and Tuesday, which will have already passed, the golf team had competed in the East Carolina Intercollegiate, so you can go on to gomason.com and find out how they did. We'll be sure to talk about them and their results next week. We also see that the women's rowing team on Saturday and Sunday will compete in the Neck Cup in Mercer, New Jersey, so best of luck to the rowing team. Other than that, you see volleyball, baseball, lacrosse, softball, all with home games this week. Plenty of opportunities to come out and support your Patriots. We're in the midst of conference play for most of the teams, if not all the teams, and it's going to be coming down to some big wins, especially for the men's volleyball team, as we said. They're going to have to win these games in order to make the playoffs. Right now, outside looking in, going to need some big wins. Now, before we wrap up this episode, which, yes, I know is a shortened episode, but hey, sometimes we have to do that here at Mason Sports Insider. Let's take a look at the Bracket Challenge update. Of course, when we're filming, it is Championship Monday, so I do not know what the results are, but you are watching this in the future, so you know what the results are already. So, congratulations to Robert Horan and Villanova for winning the Bracket Challenge and the NCAA Championship. Or, congratulations to Tyler Byram and North Carolina for winning the Bracket Challenge and the NCAA Tournament. We got both of them covered. Robert Horan or Tyler Byram will win the Bracket Challenge depending on which team wins. They will win a George Evans bobblehead. And Dan Ward, hey, that's me, I have solidified my spot as second, so I have won the Magic Opener Bottle Opener by Extreme. Ashley Hill, as we said last week, wins. She wins the autograph picture of myself, so congratulations, Ashley Hill, on having the worst bracket in the Mason Sports Insider Bracket Challenge. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed the NCAA Championship, and make sure you give a shout-out to Robert Horan or Tyler Byram, depending on who wins. Villanova, Robert Horan, UNC, Tyler Byram. And one last final basketball update. The George Washington Colonials last week defeated Valparaiso University in the NIT Championship game. So congratulations, George W. Great job representing the A-10 in the NIT, and that is a big win for the entire A-10 conference overall. So congratulations, George Washington. That'll do it for this week's episode of Mason Sports Insider. Again, shortened episode. Hope you enjoyed. We'll have many, many more updates next week. We will talk a lot more, and perhaps we'll even talk a little bit about professional baseball. Who knows? You never really know what you're going to get here with us. But next week, we'll certainly bring up the golf team again. We'll bring up some tennis results, maybe talk about the women's rowing team, and then be sure to keep you up to date with how the lacrosse team, baseball team, volleyball team, and softball teams do in their conference games. Hopefully you already know because you'll have seen it live when you go out to the games this week. But again, thank you for watching. Make sure to check out our graphic sponsor and medium provider, Giant Killer, at their website, giantkiller.co. Until next time, I am Dan Ward, and we will see you later.